Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Crash and today we're talking about the two brand new manga that just came out in Weekly Shounen Jump, and I'll be talking about my first thoughts on them based on the first chapter alone. I've done this for all the other batches this year and I'm going to keep on doing it, so if that interests you, why not subscribe? But first things first, we have Redwood, or Hunter's Guild Redwood, by Yuki Kawaguchi. This was a manga that had quite the hype behind it thanks to its one-shot. Now, to be honest, I actually haven't read it, so my opinion is based on the first chapter alone. But the hype didn't die out once the chapter came out. People were raving about this a lot, and I've seen a lot of channels even covering it. And yes, I'm aware that there are many channels that cover the New Jump series. I'm not trailing new paths here, but even channels that don't generally cover New Jump series, or at the very least not all of them, were hyping and praising this series. So the biggest question here was, did it live up to the hype? And personally, I think it did. Sure, it's not my favorite chapter 1 of the year, Blue Box still has that honor, but it is still a very good first chapter, and it shows a lot of potential for growth, which is what we want. The color page that we start with is basically a colored version of two of the later pages of the chapter. And while it showcases the art of the manga, the color scheme is really appealing. I especially love that Redwood has 3 colors of hair. The whole dragon talk that we start the manga with is not relevant at all for the rest of the chapter. The only other mention is just this conversation again in context of what's happening. They don't mention dragons in any other instance of this chapter. To be fair, One Piece also does this. The first page is exposition that is irrelevant to the first chapter, but it is the basis for the rest of the manga. So hopefully that will be the case here as well, only time will tell. Although, this video will be released after the second chapter of Redwood has, so maybe you guys already have the context and I feel like an idiot here. First chapter, however, is all about werewolves. The village of our main character, Velo, is being attacked by a werewolf who's killing their entire force. While Velo is optimistic about his chances of killing the werewolf eventually, due to his growing skill as a musketeer, the other residents don't believe they'll last that long. So they decide to use their last resort, the Hunter's Guild. A bunch of mercenaries who kill monsters in exchange for a lot of money. Money that the mayor got by selling his own house and becoming homeless. But to whom? Surely it must have been someone from the village. Right? There must have been. And whoever that person was, they were an asshole, because they had the money. They had it. But they forced the poor mayor to sell his own house. Either way, the sin who I assume is Red Hood, she's called Grim. Get it? And she is a little girl. Now at this point we all know she's going to grow up. That's not a plot twist. It's in the first page, it's in the promotional material, it's on the cover of Jump. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that's a plot twist. The village agrees to have her kill the werewolf because they paid her already, and Velo is tasked to guide her through the woods where the werewolf should be. This is where the first plot twist happens, as Grim tells Velo that werewolves disguise as humans, and it's likely that the one of the villagers was the werewolf. And this is when my brain started working on who it could be. And what I came up was the actual plot of the rest of the chapter. To be fair, it could only be one of 2 people, either the mayor or his wife, because everyone else was incredibly relevant. The mayor would be the one that would give the biggest emotional impact and also the clear choice, which meant was perfect for bait and switch, leading with the mayor is a werewolf and then revealed it was his wife. And that is what happened. Now this wasn't hard to figure it out, but it wasn't super predictable either, and I'm sure it caught some people off guard. It's not a bad plot twist, it's actually probably the best they could have done with the short amount of build-up that they had available, which is also why I thought of it. I don't consider that a bad point at all, and I enjoyed the execution, which is the main thing. So after discovering the werewolf, Grim kills it with some help from Velo, who uses an axe that apparently is going to be relevant later on, and she invites him to join the guild, which of course he accepts. We are told that there are many mythical monsters including dragons, but this first arc is going to be all about werewolves, and that's where the chapter ends. It does one of the things that I want all chapter 1s to do, but not all actually do, which is to tell me exactly what to expect from a series, at least in the beginning. Of course, series evolve as the art grows and the audience gives their feedback, but your first chapter should let me know what the core idea, setting and plot of your story is, as well as why I should care about your main characters. And I know all of that from this chapter alone. I'm definitely excited to see how the guild is and what other members they have, because I love groups of characters way more than I love individual ones, so I hope to see a diverse and interesting cast of characters pop up in the next couple of chapters. The 2 that we have are interesting enough, however. We have the basic shonen hero in the form of Velo. We had to. I do hope we explore him a bit more and we get to see how he differs from the others. But right now we kinda only have the motive and the core personality, which isn't super different from most shonen main characters after a single chapter of development. So it makes sense that most people are turning their eyes to the other character, Grim. There are a multitude of reasons why people are interested in her, 2 of them being on her chest. But she's also pretty cool, personality and design wise. She is strong, she's a badass, and she is very mysterious. She has the power to change between kid and adult, which is definitely very curious. She's also shown more dimensions to her character. She's shown to be a mercenary who puts her money first, but she also clearly has a nice side to her. We should also note that we don't know if Grim is Redwood. Redwood's mentioned to be the leader of her guild, and Grim seems to be one of its members only, despite having a Redwood. It's not impossible that Redwood is actually another character altogether, and Grim's clothing may just be because she's part of that particular guild. Now, again, one of the reasons why people like Grim, and I think people like the series in general, is her design and overall art style. It's made by an assistant of Horikoshi, and I don't know why, but his assistants all have amazing art style, clearly using his own as a basis, but they're great nonetheless. Zipman was the same, though what I think the problem was with Zipman was not only the art was similar, but the vibe and topic of the manga was also reminiscent of My Hero Academia. If you read both of them, you'll see that Zipman's inspiration and idea is completely different from My Hero, being more about Kamen Rider and Ultraman kind of battles. Redwood, however, even though it has a lot of similarities, Grim is about as sexy as any My Hero woman, the series also has this more dirty look to it, which fits the dark fairy tale style it's going for. It's also a completely different setting and feel to it. It doesn't feel like it's just another My Hero Academia, and I mean, content-wise is completely different. Plus, things like the werewolf's design feels completely unique to the series. I really want all the other creatures to look as imaginative and as dark as this thing. Overall, this is a series I'm definitely excited to follow, and if you've seen the hype and you've been wondering if you should jump in or not, just do it. As for the second and last series of this batch, we get Neru, Way of the Martial Artist, written and drawn by Minya Hariraga. Neru definitely feels like the underdog of this batch, but there have been cases where the underdog manga has proven to be superior. Sakamoto Days going after Build King comes to mind, as well as the Gravity Boys against Zipman. Both of them were the less hyped up manga of their batch, and they proved to be the better one. So it's not impossible that Neru ends up being the same, but not with this chapter. And it's not necessarily that the chapter is bad, I just don't think it did enough, especially compared to Redwood. This is the story of Neru, a boy who's very passionate about martial arts because his grandpa used to be a martial artist and a pretty fantastic one at that. Neru is interesting because he's a character that would be perfect in feudal Japan setting, but he's forced into, well, our setting of modern life, and he clearly doesn't like his regular school life at all. We start the manga with him helping a girl who's being assaulted. As he follows the bad guys, he accidentally drops his notebook, which the girl finds. Thankfully, the girl quickly meets Neru's friend, who, while talking to her about the book, which is a very old picture book, discovers that she also knows a bit of martial arts. And he also dumps exposition about our main character and how his grandpa left without a trail a couple of years ago. Suspicious. The girl Akebi finds her way into Neru's house and reveals that she's not only a martial artist, but that she knew the story of the picture book because, assumedly, Neru's grandpa told her years ago. From this, both of them reenact the picture book in a pretty amazing action scene, which is the bulk of this chapter. After that, she tells him she'll read his life of boredom, and we jump to him joining a gathering of martial artists, and the chapter ends. There's some stuff I quite like about this chapter, but my biggest problem is this cut. I feel like this gathering is the main thing of the manga going forward, but there's no build up to it. It just appears out of nowhere. I swear they could have used the color pages or even the first couple normal pages to tease the existence of this place before we move into the actual story. Of course, the color pages that we have are great, they fit very much the style of the manga, and not many manga actually use them to deliver story bits as we kinda saw with Redwood. Still, the entire chapter feels like half of one. What we had was interesting, but it's missing that part that leads into chapter 2 and makes you curious to follow the story more. Or rather, it does exist, it just rushed in the last couple pages. A better management of that would make this chapter feel much more complete. So it's really hard to judge the potential of the story going forward because there's not much to this chapter that tells me what the rest of the story will be like. My main bet is something like Baki, but there's really nothing in the story to reinforce that, it's just a hunch that I have. But the positives, and the highlight of this chapter is most definitely the fight between Neru and Akebi. The art and paneling for a rookie is really good and it can only go up from here, and that final double spread was fantastic. If this is going to be a pure martial arts sports manga, I think we do have something here. As for the main characters, Neru is a bit annoying, is that overly excited character, reminded me slightly of Asta. Though Asta I found annoying in the beginning, but as he got to be more fleshed out I actually turned around on him and now I quite like him. So hopefully Neru will be the same. As for Akebi, the girl, I actually kinda like her more than I do Grim if I'm being honest. Not necessarily design or body wise, though she's the one that gives me those Baki vibes and I really appreciate that. She just feels both nicer and I'd say more threatening than Grim, which I like. Sadly though, we hit that too little content wall again, and I don't have much more to say about this manga with this chapter only, so we're just going to have to wait and see how it goes from here. As for if I think these are better exchanges for the manga that got cancelled, and for those that don't know, that's Arbol Cop and Dolphin, Itel C, and 9 Dragons Ball Parade, yeah, for sure these look like the better manga, especially if Neru actually ends up being a sports one. I would prefer if we kept Art Ball, especially because it was 3 manga for 2, so just cancelling ITLC and 9 Dragons would have been fine. I did enjoy Art Balls a lot, I enjoyed all of Temuru's manga so far, but it is what it is, at least we got a semi-satisfying conclusion to it. But yeah, if you want to check out more of my first thoughts on other Jump series, click on the playlist on your left. And if you watched it till here, thank you very much, and I'll see you next video.